Hello, I'm George Armstrong from the Rosemary and Thyme. Welcome to my quick cooking segment. Today we're going to be making jambalaya. But a little bit of history about myself. I'm a native of Bermuda, and you'll see that I got an eclectic menu items on my menu from all the places that I've lived. So I've got a quarter cup of olive oil. We'll let that get real nice and warm here. Get the pan hot. Now, when you're cooking items like this, you always have to remember who you're cooking for. So when I first moved here to Florida, I would make the Texas chili and quickly found out that it was way too hot for my Florida friends. So today we're gonna go ahead and make this dish as I would serve it in the restaurant. So as this is getting hot, we also want to focus on texture. If everything was cut the same and put into a soup or a Cajun dish or anything that you're cooking, you're not going to have those textures. You want layers of flavor and you want different textures. So you'll notice today that we'll start out with a couple things. This is a Cajun bacon that I like to start off with. It just adds flavor, adds another level of flavor. So we're starting off the layers of flavor. We're gonna let this cook and get a little brown. You don't need a lot of olive oil because this is gonna produce its oils, the bacon, and we'll let that cook a little bit. And as I was saying, with adding different textures in, you'll see how some of the andouille sausage is sliced and some of it is diced. So what we'll do is we'll put the diced in now, and we'll come back later and we're going to put in the sliced sausage and andouille sausage in there. So now we're just adding another texture and some more flavor. And then we're going to add the onions until they're caramelized, until they turn brown. We're going to cook these a little bit longer than we will the rest of the vegetables. That was about 2 cups of onions. This will just be a special tonight. Normally we make batches where we're making 2 gallons of a jambalaya or gumbo. We try to cook it ahead, and then what we'll do is we'll let it sit for the day and in the cooler, and then the next day we'll present it to the guests. We just find that all the flavors generate through the soup or the stews or whatever you're making. It just gives it more of an in-depth flavor. So this is looking really good. Wish you could smell this. And then we're going to start with our, this is our trinity. So in cooking, there is bell peppers, celery, and onions. And again, we're talking about layers of flavor and layers of textures. So now that the onions are cooked down, we're going to put in another layer of flavor here. And we won't put everything in because I'm going to come back another 2 times and add these vegetables. With YouTube and everything, I love going and watching some of the old cooking shows. Paul Prudhomme is one of my favorite. And later in life, as he couldn't eat these foods due to health reasons, he started using okra. He would use okra before this, before putting a roux in, because he couldn't eat the flour and the oil. So he'd actually put okra in at different times, and it used its own way of making a roux, a stock, thickening the stock so you wouldn't have to use those items. So he used to have a very funny saying that if you go out to dinner and you don't like the food, it ain't Cajun. So we've been cooking down these onions and these bell peppers now for a few minutes, and so now we're going to go back through and put a little bit more bell peppers and onions in. Now this is my third time with the onions, celery, and bell peppers. I'll cook that down a little bit, and then in a few minutes we're going to go ahead and add the spices in. I always wait a little bit to put the garlic in. This pan is a little bit too hot. We don't want it to burn, and we don't want a real strong flavor of the garlic. So I usually will add that a little bit later. Now we'll add about 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, and we'll work that in. We'll work that into the juices that we've already been making here, and the flavors. We're adding again another level of flavor. Now we've cooked that in. Now we're going to go with our spices. I like this Emerald Cajun seasoning. So we got, maybe about a tablespoon, a little bit of thyme, about the same tablespoon. We can always come back and add to this later. Garlic powder, a little bit of crushed red pepper, about a half a teaspoon, granulated garlic, about the same, heaping tablespoon, about the same with this other Tony's blackened seasoning, and I always like just a little, finish it up with the Paul Perdone. And we've got a couple little squirts of the Crystal Louisiana sauce there. We'll mix this. Okay, now I know that I'm close to be putting in some liquids, so I'm going to add my garlic. That was also about 2 tablespoons of garlic. Another layer of flavor, another texture. Remember, these are cut differently. And we got the sausage. We'll mix this in good. Now we're going to deglaze this pan a little bit. And then here we've got some chicken stock. We'll add in. And when you see all this goodness at the bottom of the pan, please, we got to get that up. That's just all flavor right there. All that's come up. And now we're gonna finish it with some more chicken stock. And at the end here, we're adding the chicken at the end. And we're gonna add about 1.5 cups of rice to this. And we're gonna put the lid on it and just let it cook down. We also have some whole tomatoes. And I like just putting these in. We'll come back and crush these a little bit later. They'll cook down as they're in the stock. We'll mix this. And this is when we would add the chicken. Just put it in there. Now at the restaurant, normally you would put 1.5 cups of rice in here, put the lid on it and cook it, which we are going to do, but we like cooking the rice separately for in the restaurant, because usually by the end of the night we don't want the rice to cook down and break, so we want that nice look of the rice and a nice texture of the rice. So we don't want broken rice in our jambalaya. All right, now that we've been cooking this jambalaya, oh, it looks done, but is it done? It's not done. It's not done until we finally have a taste of what we've been making, all those flavors and textures. And this is the final test where I will know beautiful. Maybe just a little bit more thyme, a little bit more blackened seasoning, Cajun seasoning. And I think we have it. Jambalaya. Be real excited tonight serving this to our guests. As I said, we would get a nice bowl, put a nice heaping amount of rice in, and some of the jambalaya. As any restaurant, we love serving our guests. We love doing it in a safe environment these days. I do have 3 different dining rooms and a beautiful outside dining. And it is always my belief and the servers that we're here to give you a great experience. You know, as I tell everybody when they leave and customers tell me great meal, I always say fantastic, but I tell the staff we're only as good as our last meal. So we strive to offer a quality product at a great price. So come to the restaurant, have a great meal. Goodbye.